Hi, this is Nick Forster. We're going to share one of our favorite eTown shows from the archives, and it starts right now.
From eTown Hall in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, it's part 2 of our special 2-part eTown series. Featuring Che Apalache from Argentina and beyond, our interview guest, author Bea Johnson, and from Brooklyn, New York, Aoife O'Donovan. I'm Helen Forster. Right now, join me in welcoming our host, Nick Forster.
Thank you, Helen. Thanks, everybody. Welcome to eTown. Thanks to Che Apalache for helping us with our opening theme this week, our all-acoustic, wild international version of our opening theme. So this week we've got musical flavors that come together and cross-pollinate from lots of different places, from Europe and Ireland and Argentina and Mexico and the southern U.S., and it actually all fits. It all works together beautifully, as you're about to find out. Our pal Aoife O'Donovan is here to share some music from her latest project, and Jeremy, with help from some local standout players, is here. And we like to call the local string players the Free Range Quartet, just because. But the faces and the instruments change from time to time, but we've got them with us. Che Apalache is here from Argentina to play some international original bluegrass music. They got started when Joe Troop, who grew up in North Carolina and developed a love for bluegrass and old-time music, he began traveling the world as a young person. He eventually found his way to Spain, met some Argentinian musicians there, and decided to move to Buenos Aires, and then began teaching bluegrass and old-time music down there. And pretty soon, the best of his students got together, and the band was born. And they aren't simply an international bluegrass band. They are a band that makes a point of reminding us that we're all connected across borders and boundaries, as I was saying before, in any language, despite all whatever blocks you might want to put up, races, sexual orientation, we're all connected, and we can do better, and that's part of their message. We're happy they're here. Please welcome Che Apalache.
We're going to do a song that's pretty important to us, and I'm sort of buying time while my bandmates tune because it's an E-flat and the banjo has to tune up. So I guess Nick and I are going to talk about it afterwards, but this is about a friend of the band, Moises Serrano, who's an activist and an undocumented North Carolinian, actually, though he's legally not a North Carolinian, which is completely ridiculous and needs to be changed. This is his story. It's the story of a DACA recipient from North Carolina who, despite all the trials and tribulations he's faced, has been very strong and is fighting for his people. This is called The Dreamer.
Shepherds wouldn't roam o'er so harsh a land. There the sun beats down like hellfire. Bones mark a path clear across the sands, forlorn souls upon them walking. Ay, 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 mi corazón, venga nuestra salvación. Poor baby Moses, 1 year old, when his mama crossed the border. 2 little girls scurrying along in tow, he was a-crying on her shoulder. Their long journey's end was Yadkin County, Tobacco Road, North Carolina, where a grief-stricken daddy prayed through desperate nights and we'd soon be reunited. Ay, 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 mi corazón, venga nuestra salvación. Well, Moses grew up playing hide and seek amongst rhododendron branches, but his mama's fear ran mighty deep in the hills of Appalachia. Blue flashing lights through endless nights proved the world was unforgiving. An immigrant child must face a life where dreaming is forbidden. Lord, when all is said and done, and this tired old race is run, is there room for love beneath the sun after all is said and done? Sunset fades to dusk, and summer green gives way to auburn. Into the wilds was Moses thrust, for to wade against rough waters. Now you and I can sing a song, and we can build a congregation, but only when we take a stand, will we change our broken nation. Lord, when all is said and done, and this tired old race is run, is there room for love beneath the sun after all is said and done?
Well, that's a cool sound and a cool song. Joe Troop from Che Apalache, welcome to eTown. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Nick.
Glad you
Pleasure
made it.
to be here.
Your new record is called Rearrange My Heart and includes a series of invitations to look at things a little differently. And that song, The Dreamer, it's just somebody you knew, and that was his experience.
Yeah, he's a special guy too. Moises is a political activist, and he was featured in a documentary film called Forbidden, Undocumented and Queer in Rural America. And I thought he was really brave, so I was immediately intrigued.
Right. And I want to congratulate you on the Grammy nomination for your record.
Thank you, yeah.
And
That was pretty cool.
was it cool?
It was cool, yeah. It was like being on a really fancy cruise ship, sort of.
Did you invite Moises to come?
Yep, as soon as we got the nomination, we were like, well, he's got to be there. So he walked the red carpet with us.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. He also he wrote the script for the music video that we made for that song, and he acted in it too. So
Yeah.
we kind of gone full circle with his story.
Well, it's great to find this combination of updating the traditions and the musical traditions that you grew up around and were inspired by and that you've sort of expanded, but also kind of contemporizing the songs around issues that you care about.
Right.
It's not typical.
Oh, I guess we're just trying to make space for a new narrative because there's already a parallel narrative that exists. People just haven't latched onto it in media too much.
Yeah.
We just need to start telling the right stories, the contemporary stories, you know?
Yeah. Well, let me back up a little bit. So you grew up in North Carolina. Did your parents take you to hear old time and bluegrass music when you were young?
Actually, my brother did. My brother took me up. He was at ASU, and I'm a bit younger than him. And he one time he came back to Winston-Salem from Boone, North Carolina, and was just going to take me up to hang out with him for a weekend. And on the way, there was this old country diner, and he said, "Oh, Doc Watson, you're going to like this guy." So he walked in. I was 13 years old, and I sat literally right in front of Doc and his family members, just mesmerized. And I had this like epiphany. It was like I found myself that very night. And as soon as Doc finished, he came up and said, "Son, I think I recognize you." And I was like, "How do you recognize me? You're blind." But I also felt, that's really nice. Why me? I'm just a guy. And I just thought, and that just a testament to how cool Doc was.
Yeah.
You know? So that was my first experience, which is a pretty good one.
That's a really good one. That's a good origin story. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Moises coming out and being in North Carolina and being queer. How old were you when you came out?
I guess 19. I had already come out to myself when I was a kid. You know, I knew I was gay, but it was pretty taboo back then still, especially in the Southeast. But I came out publicly at 19. I had the whole gay parade, and then I said, "Okay, I'm leaving," and went to Spain. So
yeah. And I'm wondering if just knowing, as a teenager, knowing that about yourself and not sharing it, in some ways isn't, similar to that experience of being undocumented.
Yeah, in immigrant rights activism, you'll find an overwhelming number of queers involved in it because there is an intersectionality there. That's why Moises' film is so interesting,
Right.
The intersectionality of being both queer and undocumented, and the risk of coming out as either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you got to Spain, why was that a special place for you in your travels? You went to Japan, you went to a whole bunch of other countries.
Well, basically, Spain was cool because I was automatically othered. I mean, I didn't have to worry about being othered because I had to learn how to get cheese and not be outed as a foreigner.
Yeah.
So the immigrant experience is kind of wonderful in a way because it allows you to just kind of, no matter what you do, you're going to be the oddball out.
Yeah. And you're musical, so you're good with languages.
I have a knack for them. I really like them, though. I think it's more of a passion than it is a talent. I'd say that about my lingual capacity. I'm no hyper polyglot. I speak a few of them.
Yeah. Like how many?
Well, I speak Japanese and I speak Spanish because I've lived in it for 12 years.
Yeah. You're speaking pretty good French backstage.
I can speak a little French. I can speak French. Yeah.
You can speak a little North Carolina if you have to.
Yeah, I could do that too.
And so what about the move to Argentina? Why was that different? What did you find down there?
Well, because that's a real immigrant experience. Like, Americans tend to call themselves expats because we come from the empire, but I got to actually start identifying as an immigrant and liking how that rung in my ears.
Yeah.
So, I got down there 10 years ago, and it runs the emotional gamut, what you experience as a person from a different place. And it helps you build empathy towards people who might be experiencing something akin to that, but in your native land. So that's why bringing Che Apalache up here was such a powerful thing, because we got to kind of shed some light on the issue of migration and having to assimilate in a place that's not yours. Because you do go through the gamut of humiliation, sadness, homesickness, everything. Everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
And having experienced that was a beautifully emboldening process. So highly recommend it. To all you kids listening out there,
Go somewhere.
go somewhere else.
Yeah. In case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown. I'm here with Joe Troop from the band Che Apalache. I want to ask you about when you get to Argentina, because there's a whole indigenous musical culture there. There's tango and lots and lots of stuff down there, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly diverse. I mean, the country's huge. What's most been exported is tango, but you've got milonga, chacarera, chamamé, samba with a Z, another Brazilian samba, and huayno, and all these, carnavalito, all these amazing musics.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy.
And as an American, is there any sort of residual awareness of the U.S.'s sort of disruptive role with our CIA intervention and stuff
Of course.
in Argentina?
I mean, interventionist policies have devastated Latin America for a long time. And Argentina is no exception to that. In fact, the latest dictatorship, 76 to 83, was Operation Condors. They flew in there, and it wasn't just the United States, but let's just say there is a lot of resentment towards the United States down there, and I think justifiably.
You're not being shy about saying, look, I'm from North Carolina, I'm playing bluegrass music, and I'm putting out my shingle and teaching. I'm going to teach all the other musicians how to play this kind of music. That's a bold move of its own.
Yeah, it's kind of cool opening new narratives in other places too. Like, I mean, Che Apalache does that in Argentina as much as we do in the United States. It's kind of like people here. There's a stigma, the stigma of Appalachian string band music as being, a bunch of ignorant hillbillies has been propagated internationally. So people, as soon as they hear a banjo, they'll be like, like Cletus on The Simpsons or something. But they won't know the depth and the beauty inherent to the Appalachian musical tradition. You know what I mean? It's been subjugated too in the narrative. So it's just kind of like, we get to be half musicians, half sociologists, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you're encouraging throughout people to sort of think of things, rearranging their hearts, thinking about different ways of looking at things. And there is something, as a guy who's been around the bluegrass world a little bit, there is something powerful about that style of music. The drive that comes from that combination of instruments and the style of singing and the connection that people can have when they participate, because it's a participatory kind of music.
It sure is. And it's also a kind of music that is a little bit far less judgmental than other types of music. Like, if you can play, you can get a stage. Right. You might be half homely. You might not be the prettiest berry in the batch, but that doesn't matter. It's all about the music, you know what I mean? And that's what's so cool about bluegrass. What it really boils down to is your level of artistic expression.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, a lot of the songs are not terribly contemporary themes. A lot of them are about being homesick and, the traditional songs or loss or wistfulness, or in some cases just kind of words that are strung together so that the tunes can be played longer.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
In all traditional music throughout the world, there's quite a bit of fluff.
But you're changing that in that you're bringing this relatively traditional style of music up to date with some themes that are really current and really insightful. And I imagine some of your songs are perceived as kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, what's he talking about? We're at a bluegrass festival here in the South, and you're singing about these themes that I wasn't prepared to confront at this moment.
Right, that's the disrupting of the narrative. Like, you guys in Hot Rise were brilliant at doing that. You kind of passed the torch along to us. I got to sing y'all's praises too. But you go in there and you don't coincide particularly well with the zeitgeist of where you're playing. But if you're clever enough, there is a way to subvert, and that's the whole idea. And indoctrinate, I suppose. You got to usher in people to the right side of history sometimes, you know what I mean?
Which leads us to your next song.
Yeah. In
a pretty cool way. So we've got lots more music. Joe, this next song is one I know you're playing at festivals, and it attracts different responses, and our audience is going to be given that opportunity right now.
Cool.
Welcome back to eTown, Che Apalache.
Darkness of weary way. My heart is touched by the beauty at play, for I have given my earthly soul to go.
Thank you. Well, that was the title track of our latest album that we recorded in of all places, Bela Fleck's basement in Nashville, Tennessee. And he knew we were there. He actually offered to produce us for some reason, and we are mighty happy that he did, because we think it turned out great. So anyway, we're going to do another one off that album, one that is pretty eclectic. It's inspired by the music of a little potato farming village in Japan that I lived in for a couple years, a place called Minami Shinshu no Irashi Kamimura no Shimori no Sato. And we're going to take you on a little majestic unicorn ride through the cosmos, you could say. This is one called Haru no Tayori, and it means the coming of spring.
分爽快向こうの山から雪解け水が里の田んぼまで養いに来るよほれいいよせ
Che Apalache, Joe Troop, Pau Barjau, Bobrik, Franco Martino. The record is called Rearrange My Heart, out on Free Dirt Records from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Che Apalache.
Your visit to eTown is made possible in part by the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, or SCFD, one of the largest cultural funding mechanisms in the United States, supporting nearly 300 organizations in the greater Denver area. And by our diverse family of NPR affiliates and community stations, plus college and commercial stations, as well as our international stations and podcast subscribers worldwide. Thank you for your continued support. As a reminder, for your viewing pleasure, there are over 2,000 videos on the eTown YouTube channel, where you can also subscribe in order to stay up to date with our latest offerings. You're listening to eTown.
I'm Nick Forster. You're listening to eTown. We've got more music coming up from Aoife O'Donovan in a little while. Right now, I'll tell you about what's next. Every week, we get a chance to share a story of somebody who is doing something special in their hometown or beyond. Generally, these are volunteers, or sometimes they're business people or authors or science folks. This week, we have a great story. Here comes Helen to tell you more about this week's guest.
Thank you, Nick. Bea Johnson has written a book called Zero Waste Home that's now been printed in 27 languages. She's celebrated around the world, and she's in some way launched a movement for people to really think about how they live, how they shop, how they cook, and how we choose to make an impact on the planet. She's also demonstrating that zero waste living doesn't have to be arduous. It can be elegant, it can be successful, and it can actually be easy. We're going to learn more about it right now. Please welcome Bea Johnson.
Welcome, Bea Johnson. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So where did this start? Did you grow up in a household that was just full of all kinds of material that offended you, or where did you get this idea?
Well, actually, yes, I did, but that didn't really have an impact on me. I mean, I grew up in the south of France, in the countryside, where people do have a tendency to maybe hold on to materials just in case things break or they need to repair because they don't have access to a lot of materials. And also, I come from two parents who came right after the war, so they've been basically instilled that you have to conserve and hold on to things just in case. What really happened is that in 2006, we were living out in the suburbs of San Francisco, but we were located on a cul-de-sac in a place where we had to drive to go to the grocery store, schools, restaurants, movie theaters. And we missed the life that we had known in the big cities. My husband and I had lived in London, Paris, Amsterdam, where we were used to walking and biking everywhere.
Right.
So we decided to relocate, but before finding the right house, we rented an apartment for 1 year and only moved in with the necessities. And during that year, we had an epiphany. We realized that when you have less, then you have more time to do what's important to you.
And more space.
Well, more space because, you just have space to move around. You've let go of all the stuff that just is not necessary. And over time, we also found time to read books and watch documentaries on environmental issues, which made my husband and I sad thinking about the future that we as parents were creating for our children. And that's what gave us the motivation to change.
Yeah.
And actually, our lifestyle is not about recycling more and composting more. It's actually preventing waste from coming in our home in the first place.
Yeah.
For us, the definition of zero waste is very different than what it would be for a municipality. In a municipality, the goal is 100% recycling, 100% composting, but for a household, it's about prevention first and foremost. So as I describe in my book, Zero Waste Home, in order to achieve just 1 jar of trash per year, for our family of 4, all we do is follow my 5 rules in order. Refuse, reduce, reuse before we recycle and re-rot, the 5 R's.
Yeah.
So the first 3 R's, refusing what you do not need, reducing what you do actually need, and reusing by swapping disposables for reusables, those 3 R's allow you to have the control over the material. Once you put a material on the curb, you have no idea what's going to happen to it.
Yeah.
It's just much better to prevent waste in the first place.
So tell me what it's like. You're a mother. You're married. You have a household. What is it like when you go to the grocery store?
So we apply the 5 R's to every aspect of our lifestyle. So 1, we refuse the things that we don't need. That is junk food or anything that is packaged. We reduce, so of course we don't buy huge quantities, we just buy just what we need. And we reuse, and in reusing that means going to the grocery store with a kit of reusables. So I not only bring totes, but I also bring mesh bags for produce, cloth bags for anything dry, like flour, salt, sugar, cereal. I bring glass jars for anything wet, meat, fish, deli, cheese. I bring a pillowcase for bread. I buy milk in a returnable container. And that is what allows us to not bring any packaging into our household.
Yeah, that's great. And what if you need a new toaster? And the toaster comes and it's wrapped in styrofoam and it's in a cardboard box.
When we bought the toaster, we ask ourselves, is it a good toaster? Is it going to last a long time?
Yeah.
We really favor quality over the price. I mean, to us, when you buy cheap, it's going to break and then you're going to have to buy another one. So in the end, it doesn't save you money. It's the opposite. So we've had our toaster for about, I think, 15 years now. We don't have a problem with it, but I had another item of that same brand that broke, and when it broke, I sent it to the company. They repaired it and sent it back. We also like to support the products with an unconditional lifetime warranty. So for example, the socks I'm wearing today, and it's actually the only socks I own, are by Darn Tough. Darn Tough is a brand of socks with an unconditional lifetime warranty. That means that if I get a hole in my sock, I can just send it to them. They repair it. If they can't, they replace them. There are very few products that do an unconditional lifetime warranty. It's taken quite a bit of work to figure out which ones they are, but they're great and we like to support them. I mean, I talk about that in the book. It's in my talks and also on the blog, I talk a lot about that.
Is there anything that in this series of decisions that you make, is there anything that's just daunting, that's really hard for you to find a way around either packaging or materials, that's something that you want to consume and that you regularly do consume?
No, at home, we found the balance that works for us. And, in order for zero waste to be successful in a household, one has to adopt alternatives that they can see themselves doing for life, because that's when zero waste becomes a lifestyle. If you start, and I see trends of people associating zero waste with everything homemade. So you have people like making zero waste toothpaste, zero waste lotions. I mean, I want them to ask themselves, like, do you see yourself doing that, for the rest of your life? Or when you have a family of 4. In my case, that response was no. So then I'm not making my own toothpaste. I don't make my own lotion. Actually, to wash our hair, faces, and bodies, and also in lieu of shaving cream, we just use 1 bar of soap. It's a bar of soap that's sold unpackaged. It doesn't require any recipe, any making. It's just very simple. It's 1 unpackaged product that has eliminated 4 others. To brush our teeth, we sprinkle baking soda, which we buy in bulk, on a wooden toothbrush, which is compostable. So again, there is no making of a toothpaste. It's just we're using something very simple.
Yeah.
In a way, it's going back to basics, using alternatives that our parents used to use not so long ago.
In case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown. We're here with Bea Johnson. Let me ask you just a couple more things. One is, as a parent, I know you're concerned about the state of the environment and climate change and other things that are happening that are global pressures on our system. And this is a way for, I think, people to think a little more about where things come from and where they go, which is critical if you're going to become environmentally aware. But in the range of issues like energy efficiency or how we travel or things that will have a more direct impact on climate change, for example, where do you think a zero waste mentality ranks in terms of importance?
Well, I mean, to me, the zero waste lifestyle really targets many aspects of one's lifestyle, right? So we're talking about a lifestyle, not just trash. We're talking about a lifestyle. So that means that when you bring zero waste into your home, then you're going to be paying attention to your energy. You're going to be paying attention to how much water you consume. There is a lot that is associated with the consumption. It's not just buying, things unpackaged, but it's also not buying or buying used. I think a lot of people are afraid of buying used. But in the end, there is so much out there. It's like, why not?
Yeah. Well, it's an inspiring set of goals, the 5 R's. We can learn more. You have a website, I'm sure.
Yeah, zerowastehome.com.
Zerowastehome.com. So anybody who wants to learn more can go to zerowastehome.com. And it's incremental. It doesn't mean someone needs to suddenly transform their lifestyle. This is just about becoming educated and, as you say, finding those aspects of that transition that you can adopt and embrace for life.
Exactly. It's not like we adopted a zero-waste lifestyle overnight. We don't expect anyone to do this overnight. I'm not even here to tell people how to live their lives. It's never been my goal. We're just here to talk about what we've been able to do, the great advantages that we discovered with this lifestyle. We found that it's not only good for the environment, it's also been amazing for our health. It's saving us 40% on our overall budget. But best of all, we've discovered a life based on experiences instead of things, a life of being instead of having. And that, to us, is what makes life richer. Yeah. Now, if people go on the blog, of course, I have some resources on there. And especially, I have a bulk finder. It's a resource that has allowed for the global zero waste community to share all the bulk locations that they discover throughout the world. So we have 46,000 locations that have been entered in 160 countries. So if you're just getting started and you don't know where to find your products and package, check out the bulk finder on zerowastehome.com. You'll be amazed to see how much is available near you.
Yeah. B, last question. Is there anybody who's pushing back? Have you ever gotten any feedback that says, hey, we don't want this. This is trouble. Are there companies or retailers or manufacturers that see you and say, oh boy, this is going to hurt our business?
It's a question that people often ask me. They've asked me if I receive death threats from large corporations or, if I receive hate mail from them. But actually, no. The corporations are really listening in the end. I've had the great opportunity to speak at places like Starbucks or Amazon, United Nations or European Parliament. But in the end, I'm not there to tell them how to run their committees or to run their businesses. I'm only here to say, hey, this is what we're doing. this is the movement that has emerged from it. Of course, it's in your best interest to adapt it to your businesses. Yeah. And that's why now, just a few months ago, large corporations like Unilever or Procter & Gamble announced that they were ready to sell their products in reusables because the zero waste community, of course, has shown that that's what they want. And we're talking here about Häagen-Dazs in a stainless steel container, Oral-B with a reusable handle, or Tide in a stainless steel container. I mean, this is amazing. I would have never thought, when we started this in our home 10 years ago, that I would see this happening in my lifetime. Yeah. And I have a lot of people criticizing, and people on social media have said, well, yeah, but aren't you worried that this is just greenwashing from them? And I'm like, I don't care if it's greenwashing, because if they announce it, if they say that they're doing it, of course it's going to make the small manufacturers do the same thing. So I think it's all positive.
The other thing that I just want to point out is that these are big issues. When you have somebody who's concerned about the future for their children, for their family, thinking about things like accessibility to fresh and clean water or climate change, these are big issues. And a lot of times, people don't know where to start to actually do something about them. They maybe become overwhelmed and they just become paralyzed. This is a tangible, physical series of steps that everybody could explore. They don't have to take them, but they can explore and educate themselves. And it's a point of entry for making a difference.
I really believe that change is in the consumer's hands. Yeah. Manufacturers only make what consumers buy. If consumers can buy differently, then of course it creates a demand for a different economy. Yeah. And that's why now we have those large corporations that have seen the demand and are doing it. So don't sit back waiting for manufacturers to change or for politicians to make things happen for you. Just take it in your own home and do it, because that's what will lead change.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bea Johnson. Again, here at eTown. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Wow, what a great story. If by chance you tuned in the middle of this segment and you'd like to hear the whole thing, as always, you can find this program for free through your favorite podcast distributors or on our website, eTown.org.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much, Bea Johnson.
This portion of eTown is made possible by the Bohemian Foundation, building stronger communities through the bohemian qualities of creativity and imagination. On the web at bohemianfoundation.org. And if you're curious about eTown's home base, eTown Hall, our beautiful solar-powered music venue, community center, and recording studio located in downtown Boulder, Colorado, you can learn more about it on our website, eTown.org. If you happen to tune in late and you've missed some of this week's program, the eTown podcast will have this episode and others, along with content from past shows as well. It'll be available for free in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast directories. You're listening to eTown.
I'm Nick Forster. I'd like to say hello to our listeners who are hearing eTown on stations like KTAO, K-Taos in Taos, New Mexico, on WOUB in Athens, Ohio, and on KPND in Deer Park, Washington. Thanks for listening. As always, if you want more information about anything we're up to or any of the guests this week, lots of stuff can be found at eTown.org. You can find out how to buy tickets to live shows. You can see photos. And you can also check out our YouTube channel, where we've got thousands of really good videos from all the eTown shows past. Right now, please help me welcome back to eTown, along with Jeremy Kittel and the Free Range Strings, Aoife O'Donovan.
Please welcome back Ludek, Stephanie, and Paul. Well, we're going to do a song by Hazel Dickens now. Any Hazel Dickens fans out there? I obviously can't speak for Hazel, but this song is just a really beautiful song that I think feels so modern in its lyric. It's called Pretty Bird, and it's just, I think it's kind of a new feminist anthem in my mind. This beautiful arrangement is once again by Jeremy.
Fly away, little pretty bird. Fly, fly away. Fly away, little pretty bird. And pretty will always stay. I see in your eyes a promise. Your own tender love you'll bring. Fly away, little pretty bird. Cold runneth the spring. Love's own tender flames warm this meeting. And love's tender song you'll sing. Fly away, little pretty bird. And pretty will always sing. I cannot make you no promise, for love is such a delicate thing. Fly away, little pretty bird, for he'd only clip your wings. Fly far beyond this dark mountain, to where you'll be free evermore. Fly away, little pretty bird, where the cold winter winds don't blow.
Thank you so much. Well, huge thank you to these incredible local string players, Stephanie Ludek and Paul, and of course Jeremy Kittel in from New York. It's always a huge treat to be here at eTown with Nick and Helen, my good buddies, and getting to see and hear bands like Che Apalache and all the other incredible musicians who walk through these doors. This is a very special place, and you guys are all so lucky to be here with this place in your midst. It's amazing. I'll just play a really quick Joni Mitchell song, because why not?
If you're driving into town with a dark cloud above you, dialing the number who's bound to love you. Oh honey, you turn me on. I'm a radio, I'm a country station, I'm a little bit corny, I'm a wildwood flower waving for you, I'm a broadcasting tower waving for you. And I'm sending you this signal here, and I hope you can pick it up loud and clear. 'Cause I know you don't like weak women, you get bored so quick. And you don't like strong women, 'cause they're hip to your tricks. It's been dirty for dirty down the line, but you know I come when you whistle, when you're loving and kind. And if you've got too many doubts, if there's no good reception for me, then tune me out. 'Cause honey, who needs the static? It hurts the head and you wind up cracking, and your day goes dismal, from breakfast Barney to the side of prayer. What a sorry face you get to wear. I'm gonna tell you again now, if you're still listening there. If you're driving into town with a dark cloud above you, dialing the number who's bound to love you. If you're lying on the beach with a transistor going, kick off the sandflies. Honey, the love's still flowing. If your head says forget it, and your heart's still smoking, call me at the station. Lines are open. The lines are open. The lines are open. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Thank you so much.
Aoife O'Donovan. The new record is called Bullfrog's Croon, out on Yep Rock Records. She had help from Jeremy Kittel, Ludek Wojtkowski, Stephanie Mientka, Paul Earhart, also known as the Free Range Strings. Aoife O'Donovan. We've got time for one more song. I want to thank all our guests. Thanks to, of course, our interview guest, Bea Johnson, author of The Zero Waste Home, and a real leader for the zero waste lifestyle movement. Thank you, Bea. Thanks to Che Apalache from Argentina, and Aoife O'Donovan, along with Jeremy Kittel, the Free Range Strings. We found a cover song we hope you'll like. It seems to fit the theme of the show.
Estuve muy feliz, me siento como un quiz. Se viene algo bueno, si no es que ya llegó.